Hello and welcome back to another episode 5 of Spirit Quest. I am your host and tour guide as we go through this wonderful experience of whiskey together, dear whiskey friends. What have we got today? Maker's Mark, straight bourbon Kentucky whiskey, and it is bottled at 45% alcohol by volume. It is made and bottled, distilled and bottled by the Maker's Mark Distillery, which is owned by Beam Company, by the way, at Star Hill Farm, Loretto, Kentucky, the United States of America. It is bottled at 45% alcohol, which gives quite a pounding to your palate if you are not prepared for it. But, dear whiskey friends, we are prepared for it today. So let's get straight into it, shall we? Oh, yes, I get lots of vanilla on the nose. Caramel candy sweetness. Yes, I do get cinnamon as well. I get a caramel apple. The kind that you would get at a fair. Nice apple covered in caramel. Oh, so good. So good on the nose. Let's give it a taste, shall we? Oh, yes. That is a good bourbon. Uh, I would say that is far more interesting. Pardon me. I would say that is far more interesting than the Jim Beam or the Wild Turkey that we've had on in the past. It is quite sweet. It is not punishing. It is not too spicy, though you do get wood spice as well. Yes. Yes, indeed. There is wood spice. There is caramel. There is vanilla. Let's give it another taste, shall we? Yes, that is good. I also would add that I get eucalyptus in the background of this whiskey, if you look for it. Pardon me again. I'm recovering from a cold, so you will have to bear with me throughout the rest of this episode. But enough of my pity party. How is the whiskey? How do you think the whiskey is? Why don't you tell me in the comments? Now, what do we do here at Spirit Quest? We always add water. I have calculated out that we need to add 8.5 milliliters to bring this down to 40% alcohol. So that is exactly what we are going to do. I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but it is 8.5 milliliters precisely. Yes, and we are going to give that a few minutes to open up and see what happens. In the meantime, I have some notes on this whiskey that I would like to share with you today. So first of all, this whiskey has no rye in it. This is no rye whiskey. This is actually a wheated whiskey. If you would like to experience a bourbon that has wheat in it versus a bourbon which does not have wheat in it, you should pick yourself up some Maker's Mark and some other bourbon like Jim Beam or Wild Turkey for comparison. The wheat that is used is red winter wheat from my understanding, and its mash bill is exactly 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted, yes, malted barley. I would add that it is 6 years old, which is a step up from Jim Beam, which is only aged for 4 years. Again, the federal requirements only require 2 years, but most manufacturers have the good sense to not release upon the market a spirit that is that young. Furthermore, you may have noticed on this bottle of Maker's Mark, there is wax. Yes, that is wax that runs down the bottle. The idea is something like the wax keeps the seal better and does not allow oxygen through, but the first time you open it, you do expose your whiskey to oxygen, and the oxygen will, go figure, oxidize the whiskey and change the flavor, because the flavors in whiskey come from natural compounds. Natural compounds are subject to oxidization. Oxidization changes the flavor, sometimes for the better, sometimes for not the better. You've heard perhaps that fine wine gets better with age. There's some debate about that, and it depends what you mean by better, and it depends what you mean by age. But on bourbon, because that is my area of expertise, I am not a wino. I am a whiskey head. I am a malt madman, if you will. So whiskey is what I can comment on with some degree of familiarity. I can tell you that the flavor will change over time, even in as short a time as 6 months, or even in as short a time as 3 months, depending on how much air there is in the bottle. I will tell you some whiskeys, this actually helps, such as Stranahan's Colorado whiskey. I would say that open it up, drink a little, leave it for about 6 months, and come back, and you will probably, at least I liked it quite a bit better. So keep that in mind, but do remember that the natural flavors do tend to degrade with time and change and oxidize, and you may pick up slight funks or bitteriness or vinegar-like flavors from time to time after waiting for a while. And speaking of waiting a while, I think it's about time to try our Maker's Mark again. Let's go back. Now at 40% alcohol by volume, hypothetically, if I've done my math correctly. You can check me on that if you want. Any algebra buffs in the comments, tell me if I have calculated my alcohol dilution correctly. I started with exactly 1 ounce, 30 milliliters, and I added 8.5 ounces of, let's call it pure water, to the mix to bring it down from 45% to 40%. Let's give it another nosing. Oh yes, the caramel and vanilla. It comes out even more. It's lost quite a bit of its ethanolic edge. Oh, it just smells like such a sweet spirit. Oh, I hope it's as good on the taste as it is on the nose. Oh my goodness, it is. It has everything it had that I told you about before, and it's picked up. And it's picked up a very nice root beer flavor. I would say licorice, root beer, almost an aspartame-like sweetness, and of course high fructose corn syrup flavor from the high corn content. Dear whiskey friends, that is all I have to say about Maker's Mark. It is a damn fine spirit. It is good. It is good straight. It is good neat. It is good, I would imagine, on the rocks if you want to live your life that way. It is good with a little bit of water. And of course, it is quite good in mixed drinks, cocktails that call for bourbon specifically. This is a good bourbon, and it's a good bourbon to experience. If you have not tried bourbon yet that has wheat in it, I would definitely recommend it. Most people, when they drink whiskey, the way that I have told you about in the past. Don't overwhelm yourself. Get a little bit of it in your mouth. Swish it around. Hold it. Appreciate it. Swallow it. Just a little bit. Really dig into the flavors. Look for those flavor notes. Look for points of comparison. Most people will enjoy this bourbon. Tell me if I'm wrong on this. Tell me in the comments if you prefer another bourbon, or if you strongly dislike Maker's Mark for whatever reason. Please explain yourself in the comments. I would love to have that conversation with you. I would love to get your perspective. And speaking of perspective, everything I say here on the channel, you basically have three options. You can not accept anything I say. You can accept everything I say, or you can accept part of what I say and spit out the bones. Take all of this with a grain of salt. I'm just another person. You are your own person with your own palate, and I hope to hear from you as well. In the meantime, I will be launching a Patreon soon, so if you like this channel and wish to support it, you can do so by liking and sharing, commenting, subscribing, turning on your notifications. You can disregard that and not support my channel at all. Or you can be a real pal of mine. You can do me a real favor and support me on Patreon, which I will be launching hopefully within the next couple of weeks. So keep your eyes peeled for that, my dear whiskey friends. As always, I hope this has helped you get a little bit more enlightenment and a little bit more wisdom as we journey together on this spirit quest. Until next time.